Hello, hello, and welcome back to my channel. Sorry, I'm very bad at openings, apparently. Today, we're gonna be doing something a little different. I enjoy, building worlds and DMing tabletop RPGs and such. You know, like, we have Externia University running on and off. Partially struggling due to scheduling, partially struggling due to my own DMing anxiety. But, oh god, that swelled very loud, hold on. I have some ambient sound Gyro music going, because today we're going to be starting, I wanted to do this, so I figured I'd stream it, working a little bit on a setting I want to run in my system, Action. So what I'm gonna do right now is I want to start working on the map and talking a little bit about just like what this idea that's been running through my head lately of a setting I want to do. Very much based on Celtic and Irish mythology. One thing, I've already gotten the canvas here. It's 200 by 300 pixels, and each pixel is going to be a mile for the purpose of this map. So we're going to start just with a nice blobby shape that I'm going to start carving into to make the landscape. With the idea being this is going to be like the island nation in which the world is set. Hold on. There we go. And we're just gonna sort of feel things out as we go. Like I said, I want it to be a very Irish feel, so it's not supposed to be a massive chunk of land. But I do want to make good use of the canvas I've made here. And give it a very realistic geography. I'm used to having two different brush sets that I can switch. Oh wait, there is a way I can do two different brush sets I can switch between. Sort of. Yeah, there we go. If I make this layer the sea, and then add a new layer on top of it, that will be land. Boom. And then what I can do is I can switch between the paintbrush and the eraser, so that's E and B. So when I want to paint land, B. When I want to cut into it, E. So let's, again, just sort of get a big old blob to begin. There we go. Let me take a sip of my drink. I had, hang on, let me get I'm going to have a reference image on the side. I'm just going to literally have a map of Ireland because I want it to be geographically similar. Okay. Yeah, so, like I said, I've been thinking about this world for a little while, and I was like, fuck it, I might as well stream my ideas out, get them out there, see what people think, and I want to run this as a world in my system Action at some point. It's not going to be historic, and I say it's Celtic and Irish inspired. It's not going to actually be based fully on their mythology, but rather an original setting that captures the vibes of, like, you know, fairy folk, witchcraft, a fae-like world. So it's going to have Celtic vibes, but it's not going to be verbatim Celtic mythology. So I think at the top corner of the map, what I want to have is something similar to the... what is that range called? There's a sort of range at the southwestern side of Ireland, if you were to look at a map, that has an almost like it's being broken away into the ocean kind of look, and I want to give that kind of look. Let's up the brush size a little. that. Oh, no, I wanted to do... There we go. And let's... So, what the area I'm doing right now, I have some ideas that I'm gonna, like, elaborate more on the more I work on it. But right now what I want to make is the home of the giants. I want to have, like, a giant, you know, like, giants that live on the island and live in a mountainous range. What's your suggestion of a, like, mythological creature? I'd love to hear ideas from people. And also, forgive me for delay between you guys, like, typing things and me responding. You know, good old stream delay. I have it turned as low as it'll let me. Right now, like I said, I'm getting a very rough shape, so it's not going to be the prettiest shaped architecture. Not architecture, you know what I mean, land shape. A good thing to keep in mind when you're trying to do geography, just wiggle your hand a little bit whenever you're trying to shape out the coasts. Because very rarely are coasts like a nice, perfect, like, straight shape. A wolf god similar to Fenrir. I think, I'm gonna have Fenrirs as just like a class of enemy of giant wolves. Is one of my ideas. And real quick, this area up here to the, northeast is going to be a mostly lowland region next to the mountains that has an invading, fiercely religious nation. Touching a little bit on realistic Irish history of, you know, lots of religious invaders in their land, so to speak. And actually, I'm going to switch brush color to distinguish some of these regions, I think. So, oops. If I want this area here to be sort of mountainous. Yeah, and that's supposed to be like the kingdom of the giants. Again, shape's not anywhere near final. Meanwhile, over here is going to be the religious invaders. And we're gonna eat into the land a little bit. And then have a island that serves as their, like, pseudo-capital. Their actual capital is in another continent, but this is where, like, their base from which they are organizing their invasion is. Oh, the giant. Oh, that makes perfect sense. Have the giants tame the Fenrirs, yeah. Keep them as pets. I'm thinking the giants are gonna be, like, for the most part, Skyrim giant scale, like just twice the height of an average person. I'm gonna put a large inland lake here that will have some mythological significance within the world. And in the middle of it, it's going to be an island that's about a mile in size, so it's just big enough to show up on the map. Yeah, that's a great idea, having the giants keep Fenrirs as pets. And the mountains are going to be running a little bit into these people's territory, like, of course. It's not like that. there's an immediate divide of, alright, mountains begin, it's giant territory now, because these people are trying to conquer everything on the land. Your main suggestions are based off wolves and dragons. I actually think I'm going to actively avoid the use of dragons. Because from what I've seen, I could be wrong on this, correct me if I'm wrong, but Celtic mythology actually has less in the way of dragons and more in the way of serpents. Or no, it doesn't have serpents, what am I saying? There's a whole bit of there's never any snakes on Ireland. But they don't really have dragons in their faith as far as I remember. I know they've got lots of fae-like creatures. Let me take a sip of my drink. But yeah, this area here is going to have very similar, like, all of the island's mountains are going to have a giant, or in rock formations, are going to have a vibe similar to the Giant's Causeway, and I think it's in Ireland is where the Giant's Causeway is. Like, hang on. Dinosaur-type creatures? I might do something like that. That could be a fun one. Where is Giant's Causeway located? I want to say it's Ireland, because that's where I remember it being. Yeah, Ireland. If you... Hang on, I'm going to go ahead and copy a picture of Giant's Causeway. A location that I find very cool. So, this is the real-life location of... Oh god, it got demolished. Hold on. It's just a window we have to look through. So, like, this is what Giant's Causeway looks like. You can see, like, the stones are, like, weirdly hexagonal in their feel. And in real life, that's because of, like, the volcanic activity in that region of Ireland. From, like, I don't remember if it's, like, present volcanic activity or ancient volcanic activity. But, like, the entire land of rocks and mountains are going to have that sort of feel, looking almost like protruding out, like, hexagons and, like, cylinders. So, like, these big spikes, I'm thinking that they're, like, jetting out over the ocean, and they actually have, like, water underneath them, if you get what I mean. It's like, for example, if we weren't looking at this from the top to the side, then the ocean would be say the orange is the ocean would be running underneath, kind of like that. You know, if this mountain here was the mountain sticking out. So let's see here. I definitely got to make this southern end look more natural in its shape. I know that. I think a big part of that I'm gonna do is the giants are gonna have territory running right up to a body of water that reaches inland over here. And, like, history-wise, like, there was already a bit of war going on before the invaders arrived. The invaders are just, you know, the newest of factions, and they quickly swept in from the north and conquered a collection of, like, tribes and groups found there. And on the topic of tribes and groups, I think I want to have, when I say tribes, like, very, like, again, like, Celtic-y tribes, like, think giant feathered carnivorous predator, top beast of the food chain, like a T-Rex or a Spinosaurus, maybe. I do want to keep sort of a, like I said, a fey, foresty vibe to a lot of it. I want to make a lot of the stuff in the region feel like things you would find in a forest. That could be something to use in, like, an expanded region when the players eventually move off this island, though. Because I do have some ideas of what I do for off-island locations. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of, like, how I want it. I think, hold on, I'm gonna recolor all of this in the middle white for now. Well, it's like, it's how it's sort of unmarked territory that isn't claimed. I think I want a large untamed forest region that will take up a large amount of the map space. And, like, this is where a lot of your, like, fey creatures dwell. This unmapped forest that's just, like, you know, lots of fairies, fairy portals, nymphs, pans, things like that would be found within this region. And I'm thinking over here... Oops. We're gonna have sort of a, Wait, no. More like this. This is gonna be one of, like, the kingdoms of, like, the natives, but, like, the non-invaders aside from the giants. Like, this is gonna be one of the human tribes. I gotta think about the culture of the different tribes that we're fighting over the land, but I'm thinking I want 3 major kingdoms and many small tribes. I'm definitely gonna have sea monsters like krakens and serpents and shit like that. That would serve as, like, one of the main reasons people don't go sailing out a lot. Oops. I'm gonna have another one of the kingdoms that spreads out across over here. And then, let's see here. Let's give this bottom of the land more of a natural shape. Just like that. Next, I have a map of Ireland on my side. I'm sort of looking at to try and get an idea of how to shape the geography. I think we're gonna have another inland lake situation over here. And at its thinnest, it's like basically touching the ocean with only a mile of soil separating. And there can be like a sort of like I know Loch Ness is Irish, but like a sort of Loch Ness monster situation here. I think of like a large beast that lives in this this land, or this sea. I mean. Hang on, let's go for a brighter color. Yeah, these would be sort of potential tribes or regions, and I want to have spotted around. These will be. Actually, I'm not going to mark all these. Within all of these, what a tribal group that worships the giants. I don't think there's going to be people worshipping the giants. The giants are basically just people in a lot of people's eyes. They're actually. I'm thinking they're viewed as almost tyrannical, where the giants are like, they have this mentality of like, we are the giants, we deserve to own this land because we are bigger, and they even will have like stories within their faith of how they were the ones that built the island, claiming that like they're the only reason there's land here is because they built it and that the humans are invaders. But there's like that's stories that pass back to before written knowledge. So like anything I'm thinking the writing language might have come along like, oh, with giant birds. Okay, I missed that. Ooh, that could be a fun idea. Have like a group that worships giant birds. I want the groups to have like not exactly like I want them to be chiefdoms. I shouldn't say tribal. I should say like chiefdoms. These people are more of a kingdom. The invading force. They actually have like a queen that they pay homage to back on their island, back on their land, far to the like across the sea in the like sort of northeastern range. So I'm stretching. But yeah, meanwhile, these are like gonna be the 3 big chiefdoms, and like these are how they've drawn the maps. They're like, oh yes, these are the territories that are held, but like, not really, cause like there's like scattered around in here will be a bunch of little tribes that don't pay homage to this chiefdom, that are claiming their own territory. Think like bandit camps in Skyrim or the raider camps in Fallout. Hang on, I'm adjusting my mic stand. Like, these are people that are just, like, the Grand Chief Lord, or Chiefs, like, try to claim that they own this land, but there's plenty of people that are like, nah, you don't own me, fuck you. And let's go with purple for the last chiefdom's color. That's not... That is purple, it just doesn't look like it next to the green, all the greens. Let's make it a little brighter. There we go. So, let's rename this from land to, politics. And we're gonna turn this entire layer's opacity down a little. Make a copy of this, or... Am I happy with this shape? Maybe, maybe not. What we're gonna do is now copy this layer. This layer is actually going to be... Hang on. Below that one. So now the politics layer is on top, so what I'm gonna do now is... It's all now like a nice green shade, and the politics layer is just coloring it based off the faction it rules it, but now we've got the shape of the land. What I definitely need to do now is make it feel more natural. So... Giant eagles from Lord of the Rings, yeah. I think I like that has a scale for... I don't think I want anything bigger than, like, the giant eagles from Lord of the Rings, or bigger than the giants from Skyrim. Like, things that are feasible in their size. I think that could be a cool thing, potentially, given a faction like eagles of some kind that they ride on. They can give them, like, a religious significance. Lord of the Rings is going to be something worth keeping in the back of my mind, because Lord of the Rings was heavily based off Celtic mythology. Like, elves are going to be a thing. In fact, oh my god, one of these kingdoms should definitely be the Elven Kingdom. That's something that I should do. So, do this. I'm trying to give it more of an uneven coast, make it feel more like what many coastlines actually feel like. Especially the Irish coastline with its very rocky cliffs. There we go. I just looked up a map of like the biomes of Ireland, because that's gonna be something worth keeping in mind. here. So I'm just looking at a thing. Okay. Just like this. And there we go. Oh, wait, yeah, should go up this way a little more. I'm giving it the natural shapes. You can make a sea kingdom. Ooh. That's a good point, because I feel like Celtic mythology does have a presence of that kind of thing. But here's what I'm gonna do. That's a really good idea. But I'm immediately gonna say I don't want a sea kingdom. Cause then I'll have to basically take a whole chunk of a bite out of the map with the ocean. But what I can do is let's go with just here. Actually, hang on, no. I wanna put a nice, sizable lake somewhere, and it's gonna be a freshwater civilization. So like they're like sort of like Silkies kind of feel like a sea-based empire, but they're freshwater fish. They can't go in the ocean. That will give them a nice, distinct feel. Any non-humanoid races? Sorry, I was missing things. I was caught up in what I'm doing. Yeah, there's gonna be an elven race. There's gonna be giant race. I like the idea of a sea-based race. There's gonna be fairy folk. Alright. So I like this for... So now we've got... Hang on, let me give it a quick save. So this is the basic footprint of the land. Now what I want to do is drift a little bit darker and mark some territory that is higher with a darker shade. So that's... Obviously, everything over here is going to be higher. I'm going to elevate most of the land, with it mostly just being low near certain coastal regions. This. So, like, this isn't a significant difference in elevation. Like, I'm not saying, like, these are all mountains and everything else is non-mountain. This is just areas that are, like, a good bit higher. Link me a picture that suggests a sea... what would you... Maybe you could have me Google search it, because, I believe I have links blocked. Just because, like, there's lots of bots that try and give links to people, you know. Is there like a specific type, like, look you're thinking of for the sea race? Because in my mind, I'm thinking sort of like, scaled humanoids with like a, what's the word I'm thinking of? Words. The Warcraft Naga is what you're thinking? Let me look that up. Yeah, something kind of like that is what I was thinking. Like, they're gonna be bipedal, I think. Like, bipedal, webbed feet, webbed hands, but the kind of headdress look that these guys have going, the Warcraft Naga. Which here, I'll give a picture of what I was told to search. For those who are watching. So they're gonna have sort of, I think they're gonna have a similar appearance and look to these guys, but a lot more lean, more blatantly scaled. Alright. So now what we're gonna do is get a little bit darker again for more elevation. And first things first, mountains are bigger. Actually, hold on, I want to push this in a little bit more. In fact, hold on. I think I'm going to make this a little bit more uneven. Because like I said, rarely in real life is there nice, smooth lines on things, you know? Just like that. The Warcraft, remember Warcraft Java? There was originally elves that were changed by the Dark God. Is that the Blood Elves from Warcraft? I'm not super familiar with like the in-depth lore of the Warcraft universe. That might change in a moment what I just did there, but yeah, a little bit darker. And let's do this. The sea people race. Oh, the Naga. Oh, the Naga were like cursed elves. Oh, I didn't know that. In my lore, for this, the sea people are just gonna be, you know, people of the sea. There's gonna be a lot of cases of like, yeah, we just are, like, the giants are the people of the mountains. Like, written history doesn't go far enough to trace the origins of the races. But that doesn't mean there isn't some mythology. Like, I think the sea people are gonna be like, yeah, we were born of the lake. We are lake people. Like, we are one with this water. Kind of thing. Meanwhile, the giants, like I said, they're gonna be like, we built the world, like, we are the rightful owners of it. How dare you claim our rightful land? And these are going to be sort of southern, hilled regions. It looks like a face a little. Okay. That's looking good. Let's... something like that. Alright, will there be any creatures, like a curse or a I don't think any races, I don't want to have any races that are like, their origin is they came from a curse. I don't think I want that. Another thing is, there's not really going to be much in the way of definitive gods, per se. Except for the invading force is going to have, like, a god that they fully believe is real. And like, that's part of their reason for invading, is they're trying to instill their one true faith and fight off what they perceive to be evil Fey creatures. Which, the Fey creatures... yeah, you could definitely call them evil by any traditional moral sense. The Fey creatures are going to be the very classic asshole tricksters. Where, like, they'll be like, let me live in your... like, disguised as an old woman. Let me live in your home. No, I kind of earned this home. How dare you be greedy? You want to be a frog now. Werewolves or werelion... ooh, a were curse. That's a really good one. I don't think there's going to be a curse type, but I think there is going to be a magic that you can get, sort of like skinwalkers of Native American folklore, like a magic of, where you're going to be able to, like, learn spells that let you shapeshift into animals by wearing their pelts. And that's the thing. There's going to be two ways of doing magic in this world. One is going to be what I'm calling witchcraft magic, in which you get components and do, like, ritualistic casting. So, like, you do these crazy long spells that, and, like, use certain, or not spells, you do, like, ritual symbols, use components that have magical meaning, and you can do things like, you know, bless the skin of an animal and wear it to be able to shapeshift into that animal. Mix certain potions into a cauldron to create a drink that turns you invisible. Those kinds of things. Meanwhile, the other type is going to be Fey magic, because I'm going to have a whole mirrored version of the world, which is the Fey world. And in the Fey world, the very language of the Fey is magic in and of itself in the mortal world. If you just say a word in there's going to be high Fey and low Fey. Low Fey is what most Fey creatures you meet would speak, but then the high Fey language is like, if you say fire in this language, a fire will start. Kind of like the Thumes in Skyrim. And like that's gonna be how magic works in this world that I'm making. I'm liking how this is coming out. Let's get another layer darker. And this is just gonna immediately be made that darker color. In fact, let me make this 2 in scale. Just like that. Alright, and now we're gonna get another layer darker. Maybe a werebeast blessing from the nature goddess or god. Like I said, I want to actually avoid the use of gods, and rather just have powerful entities from the Fae. And, like, the Fae creatures are gonna be straight up like, I'm not a god, don't worship me. Like, they actively do not want to be worshipped. For the most part. There's definitely gonna be, like, the Fae that are demanding worship are gonna be the evil Fae. Like, there's Fae that are straight up like, I deserve to be ruling. You must do as I say, because it's the rules I've put forth. And the Fae creatures are gonna... I'm gonna have a mechanic of Fae creatures, their outward appearance, when they're not... Like, they have a true appearance and false appearances. And their true appearance will be reflective of their, like, their true nature. If a Fae seeks destruction or to rule or, you know, tyrannical senses, it will, could Druid be, or could Druid magic be based on Fae magic? Druids are more of a witchcraft in this setting. Like, I would say there's gonna be druids in setting, and they are gonna be people who are performing witchcraft. And let me make that deeper, and rather than building up, I'm gonna cut into. Because now we're getting, like, the mountains, if you get what I mean. Oops, wrong key again. I like these questions, though. They help me brainstorm more on, like, specifics of the setting. Yeah, like, druids, like, they're the kind of people who are, like, pulling from the natural magic found in nature. Because, it's worth mentioning, this isn't going to be in D&D. It's not D&D classes, like, there's not, like, the D&D monk and all of that. This is using my system action that I've shown off, my flexible multi-setting system, and, like, this is going to be one of the settings I want to develop for it, because I've been thinking, like, I want a more fantasy-based setting for it. Oops. There we go. There we go. And now, one more layer deeper, which is going to be reserved for the tips of the mountains, where the five kings live. The giants have 5 kings. And yes, the wording is specifically king in the case of these guys, because they're saying, like, hey, we deserve to rule, whereas all the other ones are the chiefs of different tribes, because they're, like, chosen to rule rather than an imposed right to rule, like the giants claim to have. Are the races able to have half-breeds? If there are, there is not a wide example of it due to, well, fantasy racism. The elves view themselves as too pure to breed with the others. The giants view themselves as too superior to breed with the others. The sea people are too fearful and xenophobic. And then, there is one other race other than what I've been listing, which is going to be the half-folk, which do breed with people, but when a half-folk and a human has a kid, it's either going to come out as a human or a half-folk. The half-folk are sort of like somewhere between leprechauns and halflings. In what they are. Alright, hang on, let's clear the political views, spectrum one now. So the giant territory is gonna be much more definitively written than a lot of others, for the most part. It's gonna be all of this. Actually, now that I think about it, hang on. Let me rename this. So, what do the giants claim to own? Everything. So now let's add another new layer. What did I set this to? Let's set this to opacity 100. Alright. Next layer will be... Let's see here. The invaders. Which I haven't given them a proper name yet. Set this to opacity 100. And this is going to be what the invaders are currently claiming is theirs. Actually, hang on. I shouldn't just make the giants have everything. This shouldn't be so much representing what they claim to own, because of course everybody wants to claim, hey, the whole island deserves to us. Or deserves to us? We deserve the whole island. But this is more so going to be where they've, for the most part, been laying proper claim to. Is what these colors are going to be. And there is going to... I'm doing it like this because there is going to be overlap. And actually, hang on. The giants have no navy to speak of. So they're barely going to have anything off the coasts. Making you wish you could join the game. I mean, the goal with Action is to one day publish my settings. Including this one, eventually, hopefully. So, maybe one day you'll be able to buy a, alright, yeah, by the way, it's, Celcerlnd. Celcerlnd is the island in the setting. Yeah, maybe one day I'll be selling Heart of Action Celcerlnd. That's the dream, anyway. And then the dream beyond that is to try and work with some people and, like, make the Celcerlnd video game. Like, oh god, that would be great. This, Actually, let's give them a tiny bit of reach into the ocean. Because realistically, they would be able to... Yes, they don't have boats, but, like, hurling rocks into the ocean is a good way to deter naval invasion. And I'm actually going to have the giants literally can't swim. The giants are said to be the stone folk, born of the mountains and made from rock. So they would sink like a rock. Just like this. Oh, I appreciate that, Tyrant King. Yeah, I've GM'd for quite a while. Action itself is a system I've been developing for about a decade now. Not always under the name of Heart of Action. In fact, before it was called Heart of Action, it was just Action. That's what I was planning to publish it as, and I found out there's already a tabletop RPG called Action. And I was just like, oh, that's great. So I was just like, screw it, Heart of Action. Boom. Now it's legally distinct. Hopefully no one copyrights that before I can. So yeah, this is the territory that the Giants currently have a good hold on. Now for the invaders, it's going to be a similar sort of story. They can not even puncture into the higher mountain ranges. But of course, they've actually got a naval force, so their reach is gonna reach off into the ocean by a little bit. Ooh, hold on. The one thing the invaders have is they build better boats than anyone native to this land, because the people of these lands believed that there was nothing beyond the ocean. So, you know, what would even be the point of trying to go beyond the ocean? So just like this. And the main thing that's been stopping them from pushing really far in is the strength of the Giants holding them back. Like, the Giants are posing as a major threat to them for the most part. That, and I think there's going to be another faction. But first, let's get... This is a stand-in name for now. They'll probably get a better name. There we go, just like that. And give them a nice shade of blue. And similar to how the Giants don't go far into the water, these guys don't go far into land. Oh, yeah, I've been trying to get my friends to hop in on... Sorry, I paused for a moment because I was reading that, what you said there. I've been trying to get my friends together to... Well, not trying as hard as I could, but I want to try and get a group of my friends together and do a big old Brotherhood playthrough where we're all branches of the Brotherhood of Steel. There we go, so that's the Sea People territory. I'm gonna add another layer that's going to be forest. And this is going to be for all of the forests, which I want big old forest here. And that's the Everwild. This forest is like I said, the Fey Central. And there's, of course... Actually, I'm gonna straight up call this... Everwild section. Like, this is uncolonized by many people because it's just chock fucking full of Fae. Like, this is the forest that, like, little kids get lost in, that fairy tales get based around kind of thing. Like a Hansel and Gretel situation. Lots of witches live here because it brings them closer to the magic of the Fae, and the plants found here are more inherently magical than plants found in other areas. There we go, so that's the Everwild. Now we're gonna go ahead and do Human Tribe 1. Or Chiefdom 1. Chef 1. And Chef 1... Oops. Is going to be up here. Before the invaders arrived, this chief was trying to fight off the giants. You know, pushing back against them and what they were doing. Like, he had unified a number of tribes underneath his banner to free them from this slavery. Because yes, the giants keep slaves. Free them from the slavery of the giants. But then the foreign invaders came. Like, he originally owned all this land up here that now the foreign invaders have. And they've basically, like, destabilized everything he was doing to try and stop the giants. Claiming that they're here on a religious, like, delivering a message from their divine lord. He was never for enemies with the Sea People, but he understood their want for autonomy and respected it. You know, he's like, yeah, you can have your this lake to yourself. Just let my people like farm on it and such. But the fish people, like I said, are very xenophobic, and like that their trade was kept very low and lots of superstition was spread. He claims that a lot of people feared them under the claim that they would kidnap children or pull people below the surface and drown them. Just like that. Alright, and then he had once upon a time, like I said, owned all of this region, but now it's just a lot of contested war zone. The only thing really giving them an advantage being, like, you know, the home field advantage and understanding what was happening. Run an Old World Blues multiplayer together. That might be a fun thing to try someday. Get a number of people who watch those streams and try and do a big multiplayer game with a number of viewers. But Hearts of Iron Online itself is already unstable. Hearts of Iron modded? Old World Blues modded hard. I might have to remove any sub-mods I had if I did that, and then, like, one day once I get enough viewers, do a big game of that. That could be a really fun thing. Ooh, just stretching a little. Let's see here. Yeah, that's the Everwild. What do I want to do as another fact? Hang on, let's expand the reach of the giants a little. Because, you know, they're giants, they're scary, they're strong. It's going to be hard to hold them back into the territory that they're in. Luckily, people down in these regions have been able to more easily resist giant control on account of the distraction that has been made. So let's try and place the elves down next, and let's use a nice pink shade for them. Set the layer opacity to 100. Older blues in the mod comp are stable enough for a multiplayer game, so long as we don't do more than 20 players. Maybe. For now, though, I'm gonna stick with the playthrough that, which actually is aired on YouTube today as of the day I'm recording this. So, it seems like it's been getting positive, feedback. So, let's go with the elves next. And the elves are the Fae children. Like, they have, like, you know, they are one with the Fae. They were born of the Fae, is what I should say. Elves. And so they're more tolerant of Fae energies and understand it more than most others do. They have, like... This has led to them having a bit of a superiority feeling over the other races. You know, it's like, you know, we were born of magic, mortal men are just savages of this world. The Fae or the elves are basically the result of Fae magic touching mortal men. Okay, so that's the elven territory. Now we're gonna do the half-folk. The half-folk, again, like... halfling, leprechaun kind of vibe. Naturally peaceful, naturally lucky, very friendly people. And they just... Or they do not claim a lot of land as their own. There are a number of small tribes scattered across one coastline that try to stay in communication with one another. They don't even try and, like, claim or protect the land that surrounds them. Which leads us to Chief 2. Chief 2. Let's go with a nice red shade for this fella. Chief 2 has garnered a large following from passively trying to, like, trade and get cooperation with people. You watch an over 30 multiplayer stream of Old World Blues? Jesus. Also, I wonder how well my computer would even be able to host something like that. I struggle to host Minecraft servers. Yeah. This chief has gotten a number of people underneath his wing. He shows no direct attempt to fight the giants, and is mostly, like, you know, people follow him simply because he's been a good leader. And is, like, you know, not led people astray. the halflings he claims to be a part of his territory, while they still claim that they're free folk who have no interest in being a part of his empire, but also have no interest in, like, fighting it. Tommy K. I've never seen Tommy K. I've never heard of them. Yes, this guy's gonna own all of this, having got, like, unified various tribes. And of course there's overlap in ownership because, like, this is more so what their leaders and groups believe they own more than anything else. When they point at a map and are like, hey, this is ours, you know, that there's a lot of miscommunication as it is a medieval era, and there's not, like, clearly drawn lines on a map necessarily. Let's go back to Chief 1 real quick and expand his reach a little bit. So there we go. But, like, one day this is something that I might stream on, like a play, like, doing this setting with some friends, much like I do with Externia University. Another layer. This is going to be Chief 3. Boom. And he's going to have some territory, like, he's going to more than others try and be claim the Fey lands. You know? And actually, whereas the invaders... Hold on, first let's go back to Chief 1. Expand him a little bit more, I think. He's going to basically completely wrap around the lake. He does not claim to own the lake, because he's like, yeah, no, that belongs to the fish peoples. And it's worth mentioning the Everwild isn't the only forest on the map. There's, of course, way more scattered around foresty areas and such. It's just, the Everwild is, like, the big, well-known, like, Fey forest, you know? So much so that this chief sort of has a respect and a fear. Well, some would call it a fear. And, like, doesn't even claim the land, like, within the mile radius of it. He gives it a nice berth of, like, not claiming it, unlike some others. Tommy K streams Hearts of Iron. Yeah, I figured if he was, if he had hosted a big thing. Meanwhile, the Red Chief understands, like, hey, we can go right up to the edge of the Everwild. I'm just not going to claim I own any of the Everwild, because I don't want to piss off anyone that lives there, because anyone that lives there is scary. There we go. That gives him some more land. And let's go back to the invaders. And the invaders will have been able to take advantage of some of the fear of the superstitions and such. And they've actually claimed some territories down here. Successfully. And they're trying to claim that they own a, you know, a good bit of forest, even if they don't have any way of pushing in. And that's part of why they're struggling, is they're invading in more than one point, which means that they're having to deal with threats of the Fae as well, because really, the Fae are why they're here, on a religious crusade. Have I ever heard of the Hearts of Iron? Yes, I've heard of Equestria War. I actually have it installed and have thought about one day going and doing a series involving it. I thought that would be a fun one to do. A fun little fact about me is I actually watched the entirety of My Little Pony. I was, in fact, a fan. A fact which brings much dismay to my partner. There we go. So now that raises the threat of the invaders substantially. Yeah, just like that. So yeah, these guys are similarly in a active attempt to tame the Fae, and have unified a small handful underneath them, but they're not overestimating how much they've claimed. They understand, hey, the Fae be scary. And yes, that leaves everything down here not actually claimed by anyone in particular. Basically, currently being like wildland. Lots of small tribes that have chopped up the territory and don't have one grand unifier yet. But that's sort of the start of a map for this world. On my own time, I'm gonna sit down and work out a lot more details on the races and such. But we've been going for over an hour. I think I might wrap up there. So, I hope you've all enjoyed this. I've been Ulrich, you can call me Brian. You love the mod even if it's at the point. Yeah, I've seen a lot of Equestria at War, and I tried playing it once, and oof, it is hard. There's a lot of mechanics to get your head wrapped around, so it's a thing where I'm like, I'm gonna wait till I'm better at Hearts of Iron before I try it. But anyway, as I was saying, I've been Ulrich, you can call me Brian. I hope you've all enjoyed this very much, and ta-ta!